Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the bridesmaids, Paul, and myself, I'd like to thank Pete for his kind words and congratulate the newly minted Mr. and Mrs. Please warn me that I have 10 minutes, and I've probably already taken those up setting up the laptop. And for every minute I overrun, I hold the equivalent cost of the band's time. So luckily I have about 100 quid in my scoring, and that should give us an extra 10 minutes should we need it. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Kenny. I'm the co-best man with Paul, and I know it's a little unconventional to have two best men, but it's becoming more and more popular these days. Pete explained to me that it was simple maths. He says, you multiply two negatives and you get a positive. In fairness, the only reason we got the gig was because Pete didn't think he could find a tux that would fit Harry. Clearly nobody. Now, the best man speech is quite often the naming and shaming of the new groom, and I could bore you at length with juvenile stories such as the time I bought Pete 10 cans of 3-year out-of-date super strength lager. I watched him get 8 cans in before he seized the union, snapped a pool cue over his knee in front of the bouncers, and was unceremoniously removed. Or, oh, there's a kestrel. Or I could tell you about what Pete used to call the Westport Challenge. After a night out, Pete would traverse Dundee's Westport roundabout in his underpants, a self-imposed rule I might add, where the only challenge as far as I could gather was not to contract hepatitis. Now, I could easily disclose Pete's university breakfast habits, where eggs were on the menu every morning, although they were strictly of the Mr. Cadbury's variety. The cornerstone of every nutritious breakfast. And it would probably be inappropriate to tell you about Pete's running with the law for his freelance garden watering service. But I wouldn't do that to Pete. Now, a lot of you here on either side might not know Pete, or, like me, a few may have only met Pete in his university years. And there may even be a few of you here who snuck in from another function and are thinking, who the hell's Pete? So I thought, rather than name and shame him, I might take this opportunity to give you an insight into the man I've come to know as Pedro. Now, I've known Pete for about 8 years. We first met working in the Belmont Halls of Residence kitchen during the summer months, when the uni would rent the rooms out to saga 18 to 30 years to live tours. Pete was washing pots, and I was flirting with old ladies for tips. Our friendship was the only palatable thing to ever come out of that kitchen. I remember the first time I met Pedro. He kept giving me evils across the kitchen. I thought he must be serving some sort of community service. And from the looks I was getting, I thought I was getting hiding in the car park. So imagine my surprise when I finally got talking to him and discovered that he was in the year below me and another dental student. So I decided I should probably spend some time getting to know the steely-eyed pot washer, since my resits were coming up and there was a good chance we would soon be classmates. We quickly discovered a shared interest in films, bands, guitars, and Mario Kart. Okay, I'll say it. It was a bromance. Now, at this time, Pete was already with Emer. In fact, I knew very little about his years BE, or before Emer. Before his life was consumed by classes, clinics, exams, and dentistry. Now, Pete's a very modest guy, so all I could gather about his past was that he was a champion golfer, a star rugby player, an alpine adventurer, a rock star, a part-time male model, pretty much a Scottish icon. So I thought that before the wedding, I should speak to his mum and dad to corroborate his stories without Pete's editorial. And what I discovered was a champion golfer, An outgoing adventurer, a rock star, a part-time male model, pretty much a Scottish actor. So, a pretty squeaky clean past then. You might even say the only skeleton in Pete's closet was his first year anatomy skull. Or maybe you wouldn't. Any project to the daddy skull pajamas? If hip balls are receiving your big sister's happy days. Although, I'm sure his first year at school is probably worse. Now, as you can see, Pete was a pretty active kid. As an adult, Pete is no less enthusiastic. He always has a project. He laid this golf green, built the AstroTurf putting green, and he even dug the bunker. Now, when he needed some way to store his logs for his fire, he built a little log tidy. But it just didn't hold enough wood. So, he built a log store. But it still wasn't big enough. So he built an extension. I swear some blueprints for a lumber yard. Now, Pete has combined his amateur carpentry with his love of music, resulting in a flying V made out of an old piece of mahogany tabletop and one of the most unique guitars ever made. A toilet seat with a Fender Telecaster. What we call in fact, Pete has a tendency to turn anything that stays still too long into a guitar. Although some efforts were more successful than others. Now, it's usually at this point in the speech that the best man gives the newlyweds some advice on how to make the most of their lives together. But I'm not the guy for that job. In fact, you could write down everything I know about relationships on the back of a cue card. Anyways, I think they have that covered. So instead, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Emer. Emer, you look absolutely stunning today. And as do all the bridesmaids, and I genuinely mean that. I was worried about Pete getting a little jealous. But not because you look better than him. That's a given. But because his mum told me that Pete used to think that everyone got to wear a white dress to a wedding. And he used to parade around his parents' bedroom in his mum's wedding dress. Imagine his disappointment when he went to his first wedding and he was told that no, only the bride would be wearing a wedding dress. Sadly, I don't have any photos to back this up. I did look very hard. But seriously, Emer, I'd like to thank you for all the times you've quietly tolerated the week-long free-form jam sessions, the cinema mandates, the time Pete and I revoiced most of Shrek as angry Glaswegian Jakies, and mostly the Trojan horse gifts, such as the beautiful ottoman Pete and I built for your living room, the clandestine concealed, a fully functional racing cockpit. Emer, I hope that now you're married, he can still come out and play. Now, speaking of playing, I've been playing around with anagrams, and it turns out that anagram can give you some insight to the person it came from. For instance, Clint Eastwood rearranges to form Old West Action. Tom Cruise rearranges to form I'm So Cuter. Sean Connery becomes On Any Screen. So, I looked up Peter Dowdy, and it comes out as I got. We're talking about those stories. So I thought, and rather than that, I would look up Peter and Emer. And what I got was I Dream Near Pete. Okay. I think I've exhausted my 10 minutes. Pete, we've been classmates. We've been workmates. We've been course mates. Luckily, never classmates. We've been flatmates. We've been bandmates. And now we're workmates again. But I hope the one thing we'll always be is best mates. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Paul and myself, a toast to the bride and groom.
Yeah. Bride and groom.
Oh, and one last thing. I didn't have a photo of Peter's wedding dress, but I did have a box of colouring pencils.